All right, do you prune your tomatoes? And do you know the basics of why you prune them and how you determine how to prune them? Well, hold on and I'll explain that to you today. Well, okay. Now here's our tomato plant. Now the first thing I'm going to do is get down here and I'm just going to take a lot of these lower leaves off and get rid of them. Whoop. That's a big sucker right there that I guess I missed. We don't need it. Don't want it. I don't want that one either. All right. That takes care of the lower leaves. Now I'm going to look up the plant and look in the top. And okay, look at here, right by that cluster of blooms. See that right there? That's a sucker. Have him off. All right, I don't see any. Yep, there's one right in there. Just a little tiny ones yet. But that's a good time to get them. You just pinch them out with your fingers. Now see, this is main stalk, this is leaf stalk. That's where I have pruned off a sucker. And up here you notice where it's putting on tomatoes, you know? Okay, that's not right in the joint of anything. So it's easy to tell which is which. Well, all right, that's enough. Well, all right. Now the first thing I did was I took the leaves off the bottom. And that's so that you've got some airflow under the plant, okay? Like we talked the other day about blight. Creating a situation where it's hard for things like that to get started, okay? So you don't want lower leaves that touch the ground or are real close to the ground. If you're not mulched, then you don't want that anyway, because soil, bacteria is in the soil. It can splash up on your lower leaves, and that's how it gets started on the plant. Also, but by having some of those lower leaves gone, that creates nice airflow where that plant can dry out quickly after a rain. That, along with not having them planted too close together, makes a pretty big difference. Now also, as your tomato plants get older, it's real common for tomatoes to have some of the lower leaves start look kind of yellow, kind of icky. They look kind of sorry for themselves. Well, it's time to get those out of there, because here again, those are susceptible, and you don't want that. So the first thing I do is create some space at the bottom. Take off those leaves that are kind of low, that are touching the ground, and create a little airway. Let it be dry down there. Okay? Now the second thing I do is prune suckers. And I'm going to explain this. Alright? Suckers are real easy. You got your main stalk, you got a leaf stalk. A sucker will come up right in between, right in that joint. And it's easy to tell. It's easy to see that that's what it is. Your blooms don't come up right in the joint. They'll be below a stalk somewhere, hanging down. So a sucker becomes a whole nother growing tip for that plant. So it becomes a whole nother stem. It'll grow up, it'll put off side leaf stalks, it'll put out more suckers of its own, and it'll go on and it'll have its own blooms, and it's just like a separate tomato plant that's attached to your tomato plant. Okay? Now, I'm pruning down to single stem. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm not worried about tonnage. Okay, I've got a half a dozen plants, and I'm looking for nice tomatoes to slice. That's what I want. And that'll produce enough tomatoes for me and for my son-in-law stepdaughter around the corner. More than enough. I'll have plenty. I'll probably be giving some away somewhere. So, but that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm setting to a single stalk. Now what you got to think about is this. When you look at that tomatoes I was pruning, how many stems does it have? Well, it's just got one, right? So all the moisture that it can pick up and send up to fill in those tomatoes as they develop, it's all got to come through one stalk. All right? So you stop and think about it. If it's got several growing tips going at once, it's real common, you know, your tomatoes aren't going to get very big. They're going to be small. Now, you can do it however you want, okay? If you don't mind that, fine. Throw a cage over them, let them go. Mulch under them real good so that, you know, and don't worry about it. I'd still take some lower leaves off, but, you know. Now, you can also trim them to where, hey, I'm going to let it have the first sucker. Then I've got two stalks. Then I'm going to get twice as many blooms, twice as many tomatoes. And it's not going to completely overpower the stem. So I might not get the biggest tomatoes I can get, but I'm going to get okay tomatoes. That's a good tactic. That works well. Then you can probably get by with 3, you know, with the main original stalk and maybe 2. But when you let them go, this is what happens. Like I say, I don't know how. I was talking to a guy about this the other day, and he, first thing I was, well, why do you do that? Why do you trim them? I said, well, have you ever noticed that towards the middle of the summer, you're getting more tomatoes in number, but they're getting smaller? Yeah, I noticed that. And I explained it to him. You know, there's only one stalk. And out of his mouth, it was, you know, I never thought of that. You're right. And here again, by reducing all those little side shoots that are all growing up, that plant is less bushy. Now, if the plant's less bushy, here again, after it rains, you know, if you're in an area where you get drought, that plant will dry off quickly. It's just going to help you control that. It's just going to help you keep from getting blight in your tomatoes. Or any fungal disease. It's all about the same. It all kind of works the same way. The blight's the worst of it, but, you know, powdery mildew, any of it, it's all the same way. If that plant is got enough airflow through it and it can dry out quickly, it's just not as susceptible. All right, now that's kind of the basics. That basically a sucker, that's just a whole nother tomato plant growing out of yours, and you've only got one stem. That's how you do it. That's how you think about it. Now, there's a couple other kinds of tomato plants that we ought to touch on. We're not going to waste a lot of time. But one of them is the determinants. Determinate tomato plants. Rutgers is a semi-determinate, but there's a lot of determinants. So you'll notice them in the seed catalog. It'll state that it's determinate. And if you don't know what kind, if you know what kind of tomato you're growing, but you don't know if it's determinate or indeterminate, look it up, Google it, find out. It's not that hard. But determinants, they only get so big. They put it on all their tomatoes, more or less in a short period, and then they're done, they die. It's like a potato plant. They get up so big, then they make their potatoes. When they're done making their potatoes, they fizzle out. Okay, now, like I said, I want nice slicers through the summer. But you might want to make a lot of canned tomatoes. Now, if you want to make a lot of canned tomatoes, you know, determinants are a heck of a deal. You could put in Rutgers tomato plants. They produce over a pretty good period of time. Because they're semi-determinate. They last longer than some, but they'll put out huge amounts of tomatoes. But you don't prune those at all. If you get a determinate, if you prune it, you're just limiting what you're going to get out of it, because it's not like the indeterminates where they're going to grow all summer long. Okay, so there's that. Now the third thing that's kind of funny, but they are indeterminate, but I handle them different. Okay, and that's cherry tomatoes. Now I'm not growing any cherry tomatoes this year. I don't a lot. A lot of times I don't. I don't particularly like them. I want the nice big slicing tomato. But a cherry tomato is different, because little tomatoes are only like that. So if I was doing cherry tomatoes and I've got 6 different clusters working at the same time, well, that's still not overpowering the stem, because little old tomatoes only that big. That's the biggest they get. So when I do cherry tomatoes, what I do is I plant the tomato, and then I use bamboo stakes, and I just stake some of the stalks here and there where I need to. And I just, when it starts getting up to a height where, okay, this is about enough, just trim the tops off. Okay? Now, that works because I've let them have all the side shoots down below. So I trim these first stalks off. Well, that's okay, more come up from underneath. You know? And you can do that all summer long. So, okay, there's the 3 kinds of tomato plants, ways you can handle it. And by explaining to you, I hope, what a sucker is and how many stems you got, you ought to be able to speak intelligently on the subject. You ought to be able to sit down with yourself and say, okay, this is how I want to do it. I don't want you to do it just like I do it. I want you to do it how you want to do it. So, all right, I want you all to have a quality day.